Hello everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Video Clips. And just to comment on the videos this week, they're a tiny bit shorter because I'm under a lot of pressure to finish the manuscript for our book, COVID Operations. So I'm working very hard to get that done for many reasons and just have the project done. So anyway, I have lots of information to share with you, but sometimes these videos are 15 or 20 or 25 minutes long, and they're not going to be this week, so I can get that done. The second thing I want to mention is thank you to everybody who sent good wishes for Schroeder's birthday, which was on August 13th. He is 16 years old, sweet 16, and he got new toys for his birthday, his favorite of which is a carrot that is catnip-filled and crinkly toy, and it's about as big as he is. Honest to God, it's about this big, and he's been laying on his carrot and holding it in the kitchen for the last few days. So thank you for all the good birthday wishes for my furry little friend. So a couple of announcements. It is that time of the summer, getting ready for a fall semester. We have some wonderful classes coming up on how to do meal planning for people enrolled in our Nutrition Educator program, which is the alternative to dietetics. Chemistry is being offered, and plant-based nutrition and health. And these courses are open to people who aren't enrolled in our degree programs. You can audit or just take a class because you want to take a class, just like any other institution of higher learning. Also coming up fall semester, the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course, people who are interested in some of our professional development programs to do the kind of work that we do here at Wellness Forum. That's a component of that course and of those programs. And also, I'm going to teach a class called Cancer 201, which is an analysis of alternative treatments for cancer patients in some detail. I've had a marvelous researcher a couple of marvelous researchers actually working on this. And so if you're curious about things like Rife technology and Hoxsey and many things that cancer patients are told to look into, we're going to present really good knowledge about and scientific data about all of that. And a couple of other things, if you like what we're doing in terms of working toward freedom and some of the things that we're doing at Make Americans freeagain.com. We're not taking donations and that sort of thing. Just buy things from us. We have wonderful educational courses and products, and if you buy things from us, that supports what we're doing here. We'll take care of the rest. And thank you for all your good wishes and the support that you've given us during this time. So yesterday I talked about data, and I'm going to continue to talk about data today. And I'll start with, in the UK, they are adjusting data. Well, it's been suggested that the data be adjusted in terms of death rates and some other accompanying data. So anyway, according to a new study, actual deaths in the UK due to COVID are somewhere between 54 and 63% lower than implied by the standard measures. And the reason is that there are so many deaths that are being attributed to COVID that actually aren't COVID deaths, and also many other contributions to mortality, which includes that many people did not get health care that was needed. All the definitions are fuzzy in COVID land, and one of them is what's essential and what's not. And we saw that with the lockdowns in which businesses were being closed versus allowed to stay open. And we see that also with healthcare procedures. I mean, we had many clients here who were unable to get diagnostic testing done, who had cancer, or to start treatment and that sort of thing. And kind of hard to imagine how those things aren't termed essential. But anyway, the authors of the study were Carla Glass, who's a professor of financial economics and a data scientist, economic data scientist with a university, Sam Williams, founder of and director of Economic Insight, and Alice Dare Crooks, who's a consultant at Economic Insight. And anyway, one of the things that they talk about is, in addition to the death rates needing to be adjusted, that there needs to be some recognition of the collateral damage and the deaths that were attributable to, that should be attributed to COVID, not because the deaths were actually COVID, but because they were attributed to the lockdown. And they say that the lockdown, the collateral damage was significant. They also confirmed that the COVID deaths were in the elderly, but not just the elderly. In the very elderly. Like the vast majority of them were between 75 and up, and a significant percentage over 85 years of age. So there's a lot of scaring going on about younger people getting COVID, and they do. There's no doubt about that. But we're still at a place where if you're under 65 years of age, your risk of getting it is low, and your risk of something bad happening is really, really low. And so we need to put, again, I mentioned this yesterday, put these kinds of numbers in perspective. So these economists are recommending that the UK true up their numbers, and that's going on in many places in the world and in many states here in the United States. Speaking of which, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly was threatening to close down the economy again just a few days ago when the hospitalization rate was dropping and the mortality rate was dropping and had reached 0.6%, which is actually a lower mortality rate than seasonal flu. And also the threats were issued when new cases were declining for the second week in a row, almost 900 fewer cases for the week of August 3rd as compared to July 20th. So you might wonder, if everything is going down, why is the enforcement going up? And I think that's a fair question to ask. I don't have an answer for it, but I think it's one we should be asking. But even with all the aggressive testing that's going on in Kansas, as it is everywhere, the infection rate is still less than 1% of the population, 0.9%. And so from the perspective of the entire state, there are no new cases in 23 counties, and 45 counties reported 5 or fewer in Kansas. So in other words, what's happened is we went from flatten the curve so that we don't overwhelm the hospitals to, I don't know what the goal is. I don't know when this stops. There's no end in sight, because even when numbers get better, things don't get better. So I think another fair question is, when are you going to let our people go? At what point? Do we have to have no cases for, I don't know, 25 years? Or it just seems it's just incomprehensible to me to wonder or to think about why a governor would take these actions based on the data I just shared with you. Now, Governor Kelly, or the Empress Kelly's co-conspirator, Health Department Secretary Lee Norman, kind of cut from the same cloth, and this guy was caught misrepresenting data concerning the efficacy of masks, and he drew some excellent charts. It kind of reminds me of when our health director was doing this kind of thing. Lots of lines going all over the place that don't really mean anything, but when somebody actually sat down and analyzed the data, it showed that the counties with mask mandates had 77% more daily cases per capita than the county without mandates, which calls into question, why the heck are we wearing these masks? So that's what's going on in Kansas. Now, this is a really interesting thing that goes to why people should look into things more when they see things on the internet. An Arizona State University professor who documented her battle against COVID-19 on Twitter and subsequently died from the disease was found to have never existed. So it was kind of an elaborate hoax, but a Twitter user who identified as @sciencing_by claimed to be an indigenous pro-LGBTQ professor who was a member of the Hopi Native American tribe and forced to teach during the coronavirus outbreak. And for months, she talked about having developed, or the person talked about having developed COVID-19 as a result of being forced to teach in person in April, then tweeting about the need for help fighting the misinformation campaign. We must keep bad information that is untrue from appearing on Facebook. Look what happened to me. Tweeted about the social injustice, the professor's indigenous heritage as a member of the Hopi tribe, the LGBTQ experience in academia, and all of this in the battle with COVID-19. It became a really popular account. And here's the background. According to the New York Times, the account was set up in 2016. Frequently mentioned former Vanderbilt University assistant professor of neurology Beth Ann McLaughlin back then. Posted often around issues around social justice and the sciences with a focus on activism and research about sexual harassment. There were tweets about McLaughlin, and there was even a petition promoted to get McLaughlin tenure at the university, which was declined. She appealed the decision because she said that it was unfair that she didn't get tenure because she had testified in a sexual harassment case against a professor. So she tried to have the decision overturned, and then she left Vanderbilt and kind of disappeared from sight in 2019. Well, to pick up the story, that's the background. McLaughlin, who turned out to be the person behind this Twitter account, tweeted that sciencing_by died on July 31st from COVID. And here's what she tweeted. She was a fierce protector of people. She let me take my shoulders away from my ears, knowing she was meaner and more loving than anyone else. No one has ever had my back like that. I don't know what I'm going to do. She was supposed to get Hopi Talisman for Health as gifts for us, but she ran out. In another tweet, McLaughlin writes, God, the irony of running out of Health Talisman. In an act that just almost is amazing, McLaughlin invited multiple professors to a memorial that she organized for this fictitious person on Zoom. And what was even more incredible is that so many people in the sciences, they sent condolences, people in academia who said that they knew the professor. Now, the person never existed, yet this fictitious person was receiving condolences based on a fictitious account, fictitious person displayed in this Twitter account. So I would like to ask some of the people who were commenting about how great she was and how much they missed her, do you realize that she didn't exist? All right, so both Arizona State and the Hopi tribe eventually reported that they couldn't find this person. And then over the weekend, people started to figure out the hoax, and Twitter suspended the @sciencing_by account along with McLaughlin. So ASU confirmed in an email, quote, unfortunately, this appears to be a hoax. We've been looking into this since this weekend, can't verify any connection with the university. So anyway, this just goes to show you what is being done to gin up fear and support and all kinds of things, and how easy it is to get people to buy into it. I mean, I'm just astounded, first of all, that this person, I guess I'm not astounded that this person would make this up. People make stuff up all the time. What I am astounded at is that people claim to have met the fictitious person and attended the memorial and expressed deep condolences and how much they were going to miss this person who never existed. And gosh, if that isn't an advertisement for we need to do something about academia, I don't know what is. Last thing I'll cover today, I mentioned this briefly on Tuesday, but rumors have circulated for weeks about Ohioans who say that they were signed up to go test, didn't go test. And there's been no official confirmation of this, but at a fundraiser, our auditor, Keith Faber, spoke about it and said that his office had at that time verified 5 actual cases, and asked everybody to share on social media what he had found. And there is a tip line where you can register your personal experience. I would advise everybody all over the country to check with your state auditor's website. I'm told that other states are doing the same thing. And it's firsthand accounts. In other words, please don't go to any of these websites and say my cousin's best friend's coworker said this has to be, this happened to me, and I'm willing to put my name and my contact information and attest to the fact that it happened. So Ohio has one set up. I'm told that other states are doing the same thing. So do check into this with your own state and see if there is a place to report this kind of misbehavior so we can get to the bottom of it. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to people who you think might enjoy learning the truth about all of this that's going on, and I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news.